What did we do last week? Well, our aim here today is to take the GPT diary bot that we created last week in OpenAI and where we illustrated what headless meant, and we created a prototype. This episode, we will see the transplant of the GPT prototype brains into the MyLife instructioning system. Before we get any further, thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope you find this valuable. And if you do, I'll invite you at the end to the epic project. It's been a lot of things, emotionally and professionally, but boring, simple, or simple-minded have never been one of them. So let's get to it. I am using today, by the way, for the presentation, something called StreamYard. Well, I think it's all over the interface, but I was turned on to this by Todd Nelson at Clock Tower Advisors. I will put that link in the YouTube video. So, MyLife is a 501c3 nonprofit member organization that offers its membership at no charge an intelligent AI-assisted platform that helps them tell and preserve their cherished memories, stories, media, and ideas for posterity, and share them with others. We're not affiliated with any paid premium or freemium service. We're only trying to coax you with what you see is exactly what you get and exactly what we're trying to achieve. So what are we trying to achieve? Well, we're trying to build this personal platform that can help you capture and share your most cherished nostalgia and ideas as a digital legacy with posterity. Well, how is it used? Let's jump to a couple of use cases to which we've been building the product thus far. We build it in the sense to help those suffering either with memory loss or just aging and want to better recapture, relive, and identify with the stories that made them whole and that they themselves want to hear and that they want to share with others. It's for those wanting to leave behind a time capsule for their young children who are about to inherit an over-informated world. And so let's be a time capsule that remembers what the time was like before the internet, before AI. To those who want to benefit from an on-demand partner in self-reflection in an intentionally private digital sanctuary. Where else does this exist? To process ideas, emotions, and struggle to come to conclusions about themselves. Well, it's all for us, built by us for us, and we are many and varied in our needs. So we began by building a headless, intelligent platform that helps us elicit, store, protect, and ultimately make intelligent our narratives. So these narratives are shared according to your explicit consents. And AI can make anything that's linguistically portrayed intelligent, including abstractions like a story, a memory, an idea. And in my mind, this is exactly why AI will change the world. Even though we're starting to understand what the limits of its current technology usage are. So, with that said, let me begin to show you. Whoops, sorry, I'm jumping ahead in the slides. I want to show you the platform itself. So here is, I'm going to take you on a quick drive through the platform. This is the home page where you'll jump in and you'll meet Q, who is the corporate intelligence for MyLife, and we talked a little bit about that in the first episode. But I'm going to take us behind the scenes here to show you what the member platform is like, and so kind of what you get when you begin. All right, so let me log in. Security experts, pay attention. We need your assistance right now. There are a number of security constraints and security modules in place to help us manage our data and ensure that it's private, but a lot of work left to do. Again, I would say that MyLife in this stage is a prototype for the type of framework we're building. Each of its legs and intentions can be built out more fully. Here we are on the main member page. As you can see on the left-hand side, I have not turned on engaging greetings. But the point is that I want to go to my biographer, Madrigal, and I can rename my biographer. I can identify certain hobbies that matter to me that I may want to talk about that the bot itself will urge and elicit. And this is, in a sense, on the right-hand side, a way in which you can tailor your bot to your preferences all dynamically. And that's actually one of the things we'll be working on next week with the diary bot. So you can record your stories. I'll go ahead and give it a shot, since I've already begun this work with Madrigal many a time ago. I don't need to let it know how we start. But let me go ahead and copy and paste my little entry for today. And I have noticed that often when I present with Zoom, I get a bunch of hiccups. I don't know if it's an internet traffic. I don't know if that'll happen with StreamYard or not. We're about to find out, but I can show you all of this without this memory being populated. But the idea is that I would work with to craft this story. I asked it to be saved immediately. At each point, it will appear on a refresh. It'll appear on my list of memories. It looks today is, what was the title? It should have told me. Anyway, let me just jump to the top one to show you how you edit a memory once it's in the system. So, oh, did she say, do you want me to save it? Sometimes this is really, I've had it happen where, okay. Anyway, let's take this as an example. I can go ahead now, once a memory is in the system, and I can edit it per normal double click and just start typing in words myself. I can save it this way or add some kind of emotional metadata to it on the right-hand side. Again, I haven't said it today, but UI, UX individuals, experts, we need you. We'll be putting together, in fact, a high-level LinkedIn post about this, because it's time to address the front-end issues that are rife. And I don't mean just front-end bugs, but how to present this in a compelling fashion. This is all one guy's work. I am in no way wedded to it, looking for improvement assistance. But functionality, so a lot of what you can do is really, really interesting. So, well, I have a particular memory active, having closed the pop-up, I can then just type in new information that I want added to that. Or if there was something incorrect in there, I would type it into Madrigal and she would incorporate it. I guess I called her a she. Incorporate it into this summary. In fact, that's how a lot of this has been built up and made larger. Another interesting tactic that we've employed, other than adding video, audio, all that will be available in our initial product. Right now, we just have it coming soon because that's a matter of file uploading and tagging, and we're just not paying for the space at this particular moment. However, that's one way in which you could sensibly and understandably improve and enhance the memory as it will be portrayed to others. So let's take an example of reliving a memory. What this is going to do is Madrigal is going to regale me with a story, with this particular narrative played out in story form, as if it were happening to me. And so this way, it's like a parent or a spouse or a friend telling a story about you. And you find yourself kind of like, oh, wait, that's not how it happened. Well, if that's not how it happened, then you can just, whoa. In fact, when it was first performed, I'm reading this at the moment, but I could make that adjustment, hit update, and then that would be again back incorporated into the summary itself. So there's this constant building, advancing, reliving of a memory to refine and to shape how the memory is being portrayed to others. One of the next pieces under development is to make this not only more interactive, but also to make it literally more theater-like, play-like, as if different characters were acting out your memory, to give that as one option. So that's where right now, in terms of the basic mission of things, our goal was to capture, curate, and share for posterity and make vivid for posterity your memories that you share with the system and wish to share with others. So that's the memory team that's built by default for that activity. So on the right-hand side in this black bar where you see the MyLife memory team, that's just one of a set of intelligences that can be applied and deployed for your needs. You could imagine a MyLife health team, a professional team. I am looking forward to building out the creative team where one can work on their own personal works of art in conjunction with a set of tools, intelligent tools that can help you present your work of art, whether it be art, poetry, etc. So thank you for letting me drive you through that. That is the current state of affairs with MyLife. We are entering into our alpha phase, so we will be next week looking out for people who want to join our expanded alpha. We are closing up our pre-pilot alpha, and with those lessons learned and a lot of what you've seen, we're going to be ready to expand to a wider, more open alpha. So do stay tuned for that. Okay, so what are our objectives for today? Primary aims are to once again get you up to snuff with the GitHub repo. It is an open source repo. We do want to engage anyone who is interested in volunteering, picking up a ticket, collaborating, creating functionality like a diary bot, which is what I've been showing you and will continue to show you how one can create an intelligence that performs inside and outside of MyLife, given that it's headless. So once we look at the GitHub repository and where we keep this stored, I want you to get your surgical gloves out because we're about to perform a diary bot head transplant. So what does that mean? Well, here's a peek behind the curtain at what you get in a way when you become a member of MyLife. Let me show you here. So this is basically showing a high level a diagram of what happens when you first log in, you become a member and you first log into MyLife. Well, first off, you receive a member avatar. It is the safe preserver of your data and a functional, intelligent controller of your experience at large, as well as others' experience of your content, your narratives, your stories, your ideas, your creative works. So once built and assigned to you, this happens right at startup, it creates other core intelligences that are personalized and also available only to you to help you store your narratives and your legacy. The first team we have is what I showed you in the product, the memory team. So this initial team of intelligence is built of a few elements. The first thing you get is a biographer. So that team, it creates an initial biographer intelligence who is assigned a combination of dynamic clues, data, and options to both tailor and guardrail the experience. Maybe focus is a better way, but it focuses the member interactive experience on what you need to accomplish. How do you tell your biography? You shape how the bot responds to you, and as such, it saves and operates functionally for you. So we'll dive into the specifics of how that will perform the transplant, but right now, we are already developing intelligences for the biographer, and the diary bot is what we're working on now to create a live dynamic personalized intelligence, all of them right now relying on the OpenAI architecture. So we are using OpenAI for our foundational models that we aim to be, we most certainly aim to be I want to say ubiquitous, but an aggregator platform so that while we happen to be working with OpenAI right now because I find they're the most advanced and it's where I started my journey, Claude, any of these all function at a high enough level that the types, if not the exact coding, the types of coding we're doing will be able to be accomplished in all of these different models, if you wanted a Claude biographer as an example. Okay. So we are going, oh, look at this slide code. There's a StreamYard thing number one. But I do see what happened. I had provided this slide with unnecessary 3D and it flattened it out for a couple of reasons, which is fine. Today, I've talked about this a couple times. There are, in my canon, and we're going to talk about with MyLife, 3 types of knowledge that we can develop and infuse an intelligence with. The first type is called static knowledge. As you can see, that refers, and we've talked about this in the first 2 diary bot sessions, instructions, files, and the references to those files that are all done inside a very user-friendly interface. Now, the second thing we call dynamic knowledge is really where we give ability and actionability to the intelligence itself to interact with MyLife and perform functions on a member's behalf. We do this through technologies called actions, functions, essentially callbacks that react and respond with our NoSQL database. And additionally, I would include bot teams and the management of bot teams in this dynamic knowledge category. Then we get to a MyLife specific frame, which is the interactive knowledge. This is how do we both privatize but personalize these instructions so that the bots are working for you and not working for OpenAI. We do this through some increasingly complicated thread management to obscure and to keep choppy your data pipeline with OpenAI. But we also use member options and others to personalize your experience, and a lot of which gets saved to our database. Okay, so today, again, we are going to focus primarily on interactive knowledge. Personalized interactive knowledge, where this dynamic personalization helps not only secure your data, but it also promotes an evolving intuitive experience for you, the member. In our case today, we'll be focused here because it reflects the most agile customization of knowledge and context for our bots. We'll see how MyLife personalizes initial instructions. So on login, like the previous slide did, we'll see how initial instructions are shaped the conversation and context awareness, what we add to it and how we make replacements. We'll see a bit how threads are used to maintain consistency and provide a layer of security. And we may touch on dynamic options. But let's jump in for today. Now into the practical side of the session. Let's begin with the GitHub repo. I will place us back here. One moment. Oh, look. Our diary bot from last week. Also a good place to start, because I just want to imply that the work that we did is not lost. All of the instructions that we've developed here to some extent or another, which were modified last week to include functionality to speak headlessly to the MyLife platform, once again, we've tested, and that was functioning. So these instructions we're going to want to shape, recommute over into a MyLife format. So here is the MyLife GitHub. This is where everything's happening right now. Our repo is called MyLife Services, and it's MyLife Mott is the full code base. This is both back end and front end to the extent that we're providing the vanilla experience. Again, the front end itself, the back end is headless, so the front end can be draped any way that makes sense. But we have our initial build there. So what we're going to do today is transfer the brain from the OpenAI prototype into the MyLife platform, into our database and into our code structure. So that's what we're going to focus on today. This is our ticket. You can the tickets are available, of course, as with any GitHub under issues. And I know it wouldn't be easy to just go pick a ticket, but if there's something that interests you, contact me at MOOCs. Something that interests you that you might want to do, or a way in which you might contribute, or a way in which you want to learn about these bots and want to contribute. We can get you started on a number of levels. You don't always need a level of coding that's going to be required for today. In fact, the last two sessions required no code in order to implement. Okay, so we're going to convert our GPT instructions, and we are going to create a new function called obscure. Just want to talk for a moment about obscure. This was in the original specification, and there are a couple of other functions I will want to add based on those specifications, but this one will be used as an example. Obscure is essentially taking a summary and depersonalizing it, so taking out proper names. Right now it's very simple, as we described in the instruction set for the OpenAI GPT, but one could develop, and we could, as MyLife, and I suspect that we will develop more detailed responses on the part of the bot to be able to handle this. Okay, so this is just easy access to the old content that I was using before, because this is what we want to do. We want to tackle this ticket and create new instructions that go into MyLife. Now, let me talk a little bit about the 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 tunnel. So how do we, for an intelligence to be constructed in server memory inside of MyLife, there's basically a pipeline of building that's required. And I would like to show you the file structure related to that. So I will switch over my sharing to VS Code. I don't know if this is just a general note to uh, to StreamYard. I wonder if there's a way to have these preloaded. I actually didn't see it. Okay, now the pipeline begins in MyLife avatar, and all bot creation happens with a function called mbot, and that just is a modular. One of the ways that we've designed it is we have decided to include a lot of our code in modular space. We do use modular JS. So the bot function for the class itself might be very minimal, and then send itself as a reference and its protected objects as references to modular code. Again, also creates a kind of universal but semi-protected space in which to run this code. So in our case, we don't really need to go very far. We are in the stage where we are creating an assistant. So it takes, as I said, when you log in, the first thing your avatar does, and this page, this MJS that we're looking at the moment, is literally the avatar code for individuals, meaning to say there is a system avatar as well, and that is another object. But what you were seeing just moments ago, or still seeing in the background, is the member avatar. So it calls the factory, not the Python factory, mind you, but it calls the MyLife agent factory to run its create bot function. Now that has a couple jumps through it. I want to just show you very specifically the mbot and the create bot instructions, because this is where what we're going to be working on today will be housed, where our version control will take place. So on this factory.bot instructions, so we have right now, it's just hard-coded inside globals. Let me just do that for no reason other than I haven't had the time to push this into a data structure. But the point is that it's pulling these definitions from global MJS, and then it is pulling in the actual instruction set from the database. So we are using a NoSQL database. There's a system portion of the database, a system container, that relates to the bot intelligences. So that's where they're stored, and we have them in a place in our version control, but the actual data is stored and accessed through the factory. So let's go ahead and take a look at the example of, that's just back in my other screen. So here is an example of well, actually, here's the diary intelligence that I built, but this is the folder in which we're keeping track of the database files that hold the instruction building requirements for each of the identified baseline intelligences. So if we were to look at the biographer intelligence as an example, which was the first one that was built, this is what I used as my default. So because all the fields that are there will be necessary for ours. Critical fields that the system looks at, but aren't necessarily too important to us today, merely just outlining them. Allowed beings, who's allowed to make this bot? a core object and an avatar are allowed to make this bot. That would imply that they are not allowed to be spawned externally. That may change for this particular bot. I don't know. I don't think so. So can you have multiple? Can you have more than one diary bot? I just put false, but certainly I would imagine one could. You could make different diary bots with different intents or different helps. So that would be up to the user, up to the member. Do you want to add another diary bot? I would think that this should be changed to true. The being is just identification for the content. It needs to be bot instructions. That's what it is. There are a set of greetings, and greetings, like I said, even I'm not even using these currently as it rolls out to the front end, but one would be able to kind of post in here some preliminary greetings that are relevant or germane to get a bot started. Okay, so then we have probably the most sensible and important part, instructions. This is instructions on how to build the instructions. Because the bots, and I've talked about this before, I just wanted to see if there's anything down here that was of particular importance, and other than the version, the type does need to be diary. No, mostly now we're going to be dealing with the instructions object. Inside those instructions, basically I have outlined different sections that you can shift and move around, giving you just different content blocks data-wise to operate with, and I'll show you where that appears in the actual code. But this is these instructions are written in Markdown. Again, the ChatGPT specifically, and I don't know about other models, but Markdown is a very efficient and widely used, certainly in the certainly in OpenAI, the most foundational natural language formatted version. So you're going to see all of this in Markdown. So familiarize yourself to an extent. It's super easy to learn, like 2 hashtags or a second header, 3 is a third header. So this innately drops under key functionality. Now, you might be able to already begin to ascertain that we're going to be taking these instructions and incorporating them into this framework here. So I just want to talk a little bit more about what each of these parts do. General instructions are the meat and potatoes. What does it do? Its key functionality is the primary thing that I need to place into that document. We have other items like preamble, prefix, purpose, suffix. These are other items that can be delineated inside of the instructions. Now, prefix is an example, is a helpful one. This is where we do a lot of dynamic storage and dynamic updating for instruction sets when important. When you saw those options on the right-hand side of the bot, this is one place in which those options can be force-fed and available to the instructions of a bot. Another way we do that is by injecting it into a thread. I don't think that we'll get to that today, but that's fine. So the important thing to note here is that I have also put in a couple of build requirements. So it has something called references and replacements. Replacements is very simple. It's just self-defined nomenclature. Whenever you see this, use this variable. That variable must be available in the data core, or else it will fire the default, which like with the birth date, you don't generally want, because there is no intelligence yet at this point to ascertain this. These are just replacements for the instruction text, and it will try to find it out, but it isn't yet ideal. So, but we have ways of making sure certain things are asked so that they are available in an individual's data core. The other thing I want to talk about are references. This again is more the options. As options are developed, I do a hard append into this interests field. The prefix itself has interests, so these are up top, so it won't be lost in any context window shortening. We do have a hard limit of 8,000 characters. You can see that in line 59 with OpenAI. So let's say somebody's name was very long, the key functionality was very long, and all of these additions were very long. We could see ourselves pushing back the context window, which is why we want less important things at the end. So prefix wise, we've indicated these options. For the diary bot, we have 2. One's new, one's old. So the diary bot instructions required that we would flag member content. That is a new functionality. So we have essentially created this ability in the prefix for there to be a flags header. That flags header will be populated, will be force populated when a user clicks into the options. Great question. Do I still have MyLife? Oh shucks, I don't think I am. I don't think I have the. Okay, had I still had the application up and available in this particular share, I would have jumped back to it. But the interests on the right-hand side, that long list of checkboxes, is filled in as a comma delimited list here under interests, and similarly with flags. If an individual has identified flags in the front end we have not yet built, but then they would go into this subhead. Okay. Obviously, I would say I could see a lot of room for, I know there's a lot of room for improvement on the fundamental uh, architecture of this, but it's getting the job done, and that's where this is now. So that's terrible. It's getting the job done. Is job one. So this one has not been updated yet with obscure, but that's fine. Yeah, actually, let me go here, and that should just pop in. So I can use the thing on the right. Can I? Can I? Probably not because it's right here. Okay, so obscure. So as an example, I just want to jump back over to the key functionality. This is where I moved most of what was under what I do. Most of that got brought, and sensibly so, under key functionality. Let me just highlight some of the bits. There's a little bit of startup. We had a specific item there. Create diary entry is a piece of functionality that is now assigned to it, and it uses a function we already have in MyLife called entry summary. That entry summary defines how the payload looks and what should be there. We do make some adjustments how I create an entry payload. The summary should capture salient points but disguise proper names. Same thing as obscure, but just in case it doesn't work or this is something you've typed in, we also want to have the obscure to run on it afterwards. The relationships array should also be, which is metadata associated with the entry summary, should also just use relationships when known, otherwise but never use the actual name. So that's one piece of functionality. Second piece of functionality is update entry summary. This is actually the same as it was for biography, just with entries. Looks like I might have typed something wrong. So this third one should not also be update entry summary. I may have just copied and pasted this twice, and it looks like it was the wrong thing. So no, that's fine. Okay, it looks like it was just copied and pasted twice. Okay. There was something else. Okay. So I will fix that. Obscure summary, now we, and identify, yes, all the codes are here. So when asked to obscure the summary, this is great because I ran it's probably double posted because I was trying to do a word count, a character count. So anyway, obscure summary, we just spoke about that. It's going to fill in this payload. It knows the ID, the item ID, and then it's going to either retrieve, as it had to do for update entry summary. It will either retrieve, but in either case, it will obscure with initials the summary and save it. Identify flag member content. That is what I decided to do for this is just add it to the update summary. So it's actually, if updating, it's going to tell the member that they have mentioned a flagged item, and it is going to, if you're in the state of an update summary, make a note that it was triggered. Okay, so now essentially what's happening is you're seeing how dynamic information from the individual, I mean, that's useful, but not necessarily as critical as a name thing, but you could imagine not cryptography, but privacy elements being incorporated in here, where it would ask, etc., for confirmation of an individual, perhaps something you and the bot themselves shared. But the point is that this is how we dynamize the actual intelligence when it's being built. So yeah, and then lastly, as I was saying, that would just create the command that it needs to reference inside of globals, which we did here. Now we have this obscure. Now we have not written, this is either next week or the week following, we have not written an obscure endpoint, but what we have done now is we've taken the brains, we literally did it. It seems like, did we? We did. We took the brains from the DiaryBot prototype that was headless and on the OpenAI website, and we've now converted those brains into a MyLife framework where now there's a data definition of the DiaryBot, how it should be created for any given member individual who wants one. And then it knows how to create entries and other content and manipulate content on the MyLife database. Now, we still have work to do to connect the dots, and we even still have to build a little front-end entity for this. But that is what we were hoping to accomplish today. And what can I say but good work. We got it done. So let's just talk about where MyLife is now and what we can use. We're, like I was alluding to at the beginning, we have this prototype of a platform ready. We've been using it, we've been testing it. It's fun, it's weird, it's quirky. Even when it gets stuff wrong, it's enjoyable, and you get the experience of correcting it and recognizing, sharing that sense of accomplishment of who's in charge. So what did we learn today? Well, we learned how to transplant the intelligence that we had tested in the OpenAI GPT and get that into the MyLife system. So we're well on our way to personalizing and creating the MyLife Diary bot for all of our members. So we saw how instructions were dynamically derived on demand. That I showed you the little tunnel, the pipeline, and we'll get more into that once we build the API. But the tunnel was basically how your avatar is creating any given bot, in this case, the diary bot. Help. We'd love for you to get involved. We do need you. We have some incredible volunteers already. The only problem is them being too few in number. And I absolutely want to send special thanks this week to Steve, Russ, Avani, Mark, Lakshmi, Sheila, Jesse, Jeff, and Chris. You're all incredible, and everybody who's contributed thus far and will continue to contribute. We specifically are still continuing our executive director search. We've spoken with 3 terrific candidates already, and we're slating some more in the near future. I want to, as I alluded to, I specifically intend to put together a LinkedIn volunteer listing for a UI UX expert, a design expert. Is my design too disco? Let me know. I've heard it harkens back to the 70s, to the 90s, maybe even to eras that didn't exist, which is totally fine, except that we really need to be bringing the interface and the experience side of things to the next level. Functionality wise, we feel we are in very good shape. So we'll be calling out for UI UX experts ASAP. I need help with this format. It's not hard, but it's not easy. I do like StreamYard. I'm definitely going to continue to use it. So if you have experience with AV or just want to jump in for an hour and hear this talk anyway, well, please let me know via LinkedIn. Obviously that's where the session is being broadcast, and we'd love to bring you on board for help. We can always use security experts. We're really getting to the part where we're in a phase called talc. I think that about says it all. Our security level is in need of advancement, and as we move out into an alpha and then ultimately the beta, that needs to be in a far improved state, and I can see how it will work. We just need your talents. Fundraising, we do have donations on our homepage, and of course we can and will responsibly use all of our funds. Most importantly, follow us on LinkedIn. We need to get the word out, and we're excited about what we're doing, and I'd be super excited that you can be too. LinkedIn is the place to follow us right now. That's where we're doing most of our work. We'll be publishing our articles and obviously doing the streams like this. We are going to be looking for Alpha Pilot applicants. Here's a trick. Go to our homepage, thehumanremembranceproject.org. I'm still working on mylife.org. I believe I once worked for the people who own it. So I just gotta sweet talk them or sweet pay them. Register me. Tell Q, who is our homepage corporate intelligence, say register me. If all goes well, it doesn't, LinkedIn. They will take you through the process so that you can be known to us, and that we can get you out a validation link, and boom, alpha pilot applicant. You are. So, well, yeah, I mean, we'll send out a much more coherent message on that, but that is something that's coming up. So I want to thank you all so much for being here today. It's always fun. Next week, I think I got to say it's Simon Says. We're going to write the new API hooks like obscure. We're going to get right to the exposed part of the platform, right on our roots. We're gonna talk about how the API is going to be built from the outside in. How does the system understand how to obscure an entry? That'll be next week. Thank you so much again for joining.